Good afternoon,
My
Eamon.
turn to be nervous
It's
now.
it's your time now to be in the hot seat now and have a chat
You turned
with
the tide
us.
around very quickly.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I prefer to be on this side of the control set rather than being asked all the
Questions, fair
questions.
enough.
But thanks, I suppose, to give the viewers and people who are going to be listening in the chance maybe to hear from your side of the story. Not just everyone else that has made an impact on this
Yeah.
place. We're sitting in the funeral home now, and I suppose people that are coming in now to funeral home, this is what they see. But this is only one part of your story here. Do you want to take us back to when the funerals started, when Grays started doing funerals here?
Of course, my dad bought a menswear shop in the main street in 1961, and there was a funeral business going with it. So he decided he'd give it a try. And himself and my Uncle Sean took it on. When I came along then, I suppose I worked mostly in the shop, but I did work in the funerals with my dad. And I can remember even being quite small. I remember we had an old Dodge Royal hearse, and it had three seats in it, like a bench seat. And I used to sit in the middle, and my dad would drive. And then there was somebody who used to work with us then, Tom Taylor. And it'd be regular enough for me to go on a Sunday evening if they had a removal somewhere. Generally, back then, the removal would have been maybe from Nina Hospital or the Hospital Assumption in Thurles. So I would go with them. That was my Sunday afternoon spin. Um, Naturally enough, when it was that small, I really hadn't a whole lot of interest in it. But of course, as time grew on, then I got more and more interested in the funeral business. And I had, then I suppose, as I got older, Tom Murphy was always there, and my dad was always there. So I had those two people, I suppose, to guide me and show me the way and keep some sort of control over me to a certain extent. And I know their guidance and help, and my Uncle Sean and different people who worked here over the years, and you yourself would have great fond memories of Tommy Heaney,
Absolutely.
and all these people helped along the way and they guided
Absolutely.
us in the right direction. And if we put our foot a little bit too wrong, they were quick to tell us, which was no harm, it was good. And if we put our foot in the right place, they were also very quick to tell us and praise us and encourage us. And yeah,
Absolutely, because you do need that guidance too, as well, and particularly when you're starting out.
big time.
I do remember working with your uncle Sean a lot, and when I started here, he was a great help. It's just even to have someone to give you that reassurance, that thumbs up, that when you're doing
Correct.
the right thing, sometimes you need that confidence too, as well.
Correct. As much as
Isn't
when
it?
you're doing the wrong thing.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
just to kind
yeah.
of keep you on the
And
straight
he
and narrow.
always had, more than Tommy Heaney, had super praise of you.
Yeah,
Yeah, he always had, no, in fairness, you got on very well.
yeah, no,
Yeah, you got
yeah,
on
we
great.
always
Yeah,
got on very well,
you
yeah,
did, in fairness, now.
and
Yeah, yeah.
worked very well, and it was nice to have that support
Was
as
the
well.
guidance as
Yeah,
well. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely, yeah,
correct.
particularly when
And I
you're
bet you even if I was away, just having Sean there was a little bit of a support and a backup. And
absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
you just didn't feel you were flying the solo
yeah,
mission, that you had someone just to give you that support at the back
correct,
in the
correct. Yeah, yeah.
background and things like that.
Which
And
was very important. And even the same again, maybe Tommy Heaney, you know, that when you got to the cemetery, he was
exactly,
there just to guide you, and he wouldn't put in or put out you, I'm sure. But
yeah,
at the same time, he was there and he was reassurance. And
absolutely, I know it's very important. And I suppose you've seen a big change in funerals down through the years. What's some of the biggest changes you've seen in funerals?
I suppose the biggest change I always thought I saw it in my time was probably the embalming. When the embalming came in, before that, it was usually maybe a nurse that laid the person out, and the funeral, which generally speaking was if the person passed away late at night, the reposing was the next evening. Or if they passed away early in the morning, the reposing was that evening. And they usually reposed in the house. Or if they passed away, for argument's sake, in a hospital in Dublin, they reposed in the hospital in Dublin, and they went to the church that evening and buried the next day. So I suppose the embalmment then, I think it gave, obviously it gave a family more comfort to see the person laid out in a natural and a normal fashion. I think it also brought us as funeral directors to a whole new serious level, that we became far more professional people, that we just didn't arrive on with a coffin. As I said, the undertaker, the undertaker, of course, was this that you undertook to bring a coffin
Yeah,
and bring the person from wherever they passed away to the church. So I think the fact that the embalming came in, it made us far more professional. Families knew that we were spending time with their loved one, and that we were able to get them in a natural repose when they came to see them, and they loved and appreciated that. And that really put the funeral business, I think, into a whole new level. I suppose a funeral director, it made you a funeral director, really. And I suppose for me then, when I learned the embalming skill, And in the beginning, we had to push at it quite hard because people were maybe a little bit reluctant to it because it was like anything, it was something new. But it took off for me, and it took off very, very quickly because I suppose I promoted it as best I could. And I always said then, for argument's sake, if somebody was to try and compete with you, if they have enough money tomorrow, they can build the same funeral home as I have, but they can't get the 40 years embalming experience.
No.
Yeah, they can't actually buy that. It's like the ad for the credit card. It's
Yeah.
priceless.
And yeah, I suppose you qualified as an embalmer in
92.
like that. That's a long time. That was a very new thing. Embalming
Oh, it was
was
that.
probably unheard of at that
It
stage,
was
was
the
it?
only time somebody was being embalmed really back then was if they were being transported to another country. That was really the only time you embalmed somebody. Now, some of the cities, the funeral homes in the city, particularly in Cork, I think, had kind of started to promote it
Mm.
as part of their funeral service. And of course, I know some friends of mine were the same. My great pal David McGowan, he was also encouraging people that it was part of the funeral
Yeah,
service, that it was a kind of a necessary part. And I suppose people saw the difference that it made to the way the person was laid out, and they very quickly said, that's what I want.
yeah.
If somebody passed away, belonged to me. That's what
That's
I
how I
want.
want to
Yeah,
look.
yeah,
And then funerals, I suppose originally they were maybe carried out in hospitals or in houses, and
correct.
then funeral homes started to appear on the scene.
Yeah, the funeral homes. Um, I built this in 95, 96. But the funeral homes, I suppose, in certain parts of the country had already taken off
Okay.
kind of big time. In cities, I suppose, in particular. Um, and there was different kind of counties then that funeral homes were popular in. And then there was, and I suppose it really depended on whether there was funeral homes or not, because there's some counties, even to this day, there's some counties that they don't have funeral homes. And you could have, in a small village, you could have 4 funeral directors.
Mm.
And they just provide you with a coffin and a hearse, and they maybe take the person away somewhere and get them embalmed and bring them back, but they don't actually have funeral homes. So I suppose the funeral homes, I suppose, first of all, it probably again made it easier on families because it cut out a lot of the travel. Whereas before we'd have a removal, say, from Nina Hospital, or we'd have them from St. Teresa's in Thurles, or in the hospital of Assumption. But now I suppose it brought it to a more kind of a central location. And of course, the funeral home again made it more of a homely kind of a setup too, I think, I suppose, which is probably
Yeah, I suppose it provided that central focal point,
correct.
didn't it, for families to be able to focus on and
Correct, yeah.
have their
Their
service
services, yeah.
in the one place. And I suppose working as a funeral director in a local area like Templemore, small town and small parishes, that must be difficult too as well, because the people that you're looking after, you would have known. You would have known them for most of your life and most of theirs, and that must be difficult too as well.
It can be a difficulty and it can be an advantage because you know who you're dealing with. And of course, at the same time, you can feel a bit sad because you knew the person. So I suppose there's a few kind of emotions rolling around there. But like when you have it sorted for them, then like everyone in the family, they all know you. And when they thank you afterwards for the service you provided, you're very proud and very thankful that you did it. And you still obviously would have a moment maybe when the person is in the main room here. You might come down at night and sit down and shed a little tear, and that's your way of handling it. You
Yeah.
still then have to turn around and provide as best a professional service as you can.
Absolutely, yeah, and so it is to get that
Yeah,
balance too as well, because we are only human at the end of the
correct,
day. We
correct.
can't just leave all our emotion
Emotions
at the
behind, yeah,
door
yeah,
either,
yeah.
as much and all as we might like to, because it might make our job that we have to do an awful lot easier.
Correct.
But you do have to realize that this is someone that I knew
Yeah,
and would have had a laugh with down through the
that's it.
years, and
That's
this
it.
is a difficult moment
Yeah,
too as well, and that comes to when you're dealing with family, your own family members and your
correct. And
own close
even
friends as well.
you would have witnessed it over the last few months where we had a couple of friends and we had family members,
Yeah,
and they would have been as friendly with you as they were with me, and
exactly. Yeah,
some of them
exactly.
called here every day, and
That's
you know,
it, and they're the people I suppose that you expect to see them every day,
correct. Yeah, correct. You just
and
don't
then
think they'll ever go away. And yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
because they're the same people that they knock on the door, they drive around in the car, and you're
Correct.
you're expecting them to do that again
Yeah, yeah,
today,
correct.
aren't you?
Yeah,
And they're the people that again would have guided you. Maybe they didn't work directly in the funeral home on the funeral side of
yeah,
things, but a lot of the work in this building is accredited to a lot of our friends, and it has been a difficult couple of months, I think, for
correct.
us between family
Correct.
members
Yeah,
and
yeah,
friends that
friends.
have
And
have
when you
left
look
us.
around, there were so many things that they either donated or built
Yes.
or painted.
Yeah.
You know, there's just
And just, yes, they're kind of, they're still with us in one way, aren't they?
correct,
Because
correct.
every time you look around, you can accredit it
Credit to
to
them, correct.
credit it to
And
that
even
person.
this room, the way we named it after my uncle Sean,
Yeah.
and the other room, of course, on the far side, we've obviously called Eddie's room after my dad.
Yeah.
And of course, my own son Eddie thinks it's his room. You know,
And that's the next, and it's, but I suppose that's the way he's looking at that. But then
right.
that's the next generation
That's it.
coming down the line as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
and to pass the mantle on the way it was passed to you.
correct. Or, you know, if he's in the funeral home and he's only 4, but if he's wandering around the funeral home and he said to me, "Mick, coming down, like if I'm coming down to do a little job in the funeral home," he said, "Where are you going?" And I say, "Either to Eddie's room or Sean's room." You know, and he's just convinced that Eddie's room is his room rather than my dad's room. But,
Well, I think, I've a niece the same age
yeah,
as
correct.
Eddie, and I think at that age everything belongs to
To them,
them.
yeah.
Anyway, I don't think there's any
Eddie, correct,
any
yeah.
discrepancy in that whatsoever. And I suppose then, that does funerals have an impact on family life?
To do, I suppose, our life would probably revolve around if somebody, we might have something planned for argument's sake for a day, but if somebody rings the day before and someone has passed away, then that'll change all our plans. But I suppose we're used to that, and
Yeah,
that's our life. We don't have any problem with that, and we get our holidays, of course, thanks to you. And I think once you get your holiday away, for me, sometimes even the start of the holidays when you take the phone. So I don't have the phone anymore. I have a phone, but
yeah,
it's a holiday phone. You can still contact me, our family can still contact me, but I don't have the same pressure, I suppose, that you're sitting
exactly.
down in the evening having your tea and the phone rings and your whole evening just changes. Your plan for the evening changes.
Exactly, because I think maybe that's one side. Obviously, people realize that we're on call, but
Yeah,
maybe don't always understand the
correct.
impact that that can have. And
Yeah,
while we have signed up for that, sometimes our family members, they have to come on board as well as that. So it's
correct.
not just the funeral director that's doing
Yeah,
the work;
yeah.
it's their family have to come on
Come on
board
board. Yeah.
with that as well, which is
And I was
incredibly
very lucky
important.
with Louise because Louise, I suppose, probably suppose knew that from day one and
Exactly, yeah.
has never had an issue with it. Just, she knows that if the phone rings, that's it, that, business has to be sorted out and things have
This
to be
is
sorted out. And we just have to rearrange whatever we're rearranging. I suppose you do miss kind of some family functions and things like that, but that's part of it. You've signed yourself up for it. And I remember even, I don't know, were you here at the time, but a first cousin of my own passed away in Dublin. And we were just too busy. I just couldn't get up to the funeral. So I obviously knew the funeral director. And I asked him, is there any chance if I drove up on the bike when I was finished here? And it was late at night.
mm,
And he just let me in for 5 minutes and he did. And, that's just no more I could do. That was it. I had to keep an eye on the show here and keep an eye on what was going on. And that's just part and parcel of it.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
And I suppose it's nice then that we'll say other colleagues recognize that too as
correct.
well. And if you can accommodate someone,
Yeah,
that you will. And I suppose that you focus a lot on community too as well here. This is very much a community venue for people, and you focus on different charities down through the years as well. But I think one of the highlights of the year, certainly that I would always have marked from the start of the year, is the memorial tree
yeah.
every year. And I suppose when we start leaving summer, people will be starting to ask questions about the memorial tree. When did that start? And
That started, I think it's 19 years we're at this year. And I remember, Benny Hogan, who supplies us with Sid flowers. And I remember talking to him about it. And I was mad to put a Christmas tree at the front of the funeral home. But of course, to have a reason to put it there, you couldn't just put a Christmas tree there, I suppose. I was thinking and thinking about it. I remember mentioning to Benny Hogan, and I said, if we got little cards that people could write on, and we'd put them, I said at that time, I said, we'd put them on the hedge either side of the funeral home. And Benny said, oh no, he says, you need to have a Christmas tree. They need to put them on a Christmas tree. So that's all I needed was the tiniest bit of encouragement. So off I went and bought a kind of a large Christmas tree that goes at the front of the funeral home to this day. And Wayne, in fairness, of course, puts it up for us. And it has become a real part of family life here in Templemore. And people would say to us, Christmas doesn't start until you have the memorial tree. That's the start of Christmas. And of course, the pipe band are marvellous. They come down and support us. And I suppose one thing I remember is my dad would have been sick with cancer, so he had the hospice people. And I always think back and always have the collection. If we have a collection that people want to donate, they don't actually have to. But if they want to donate, I would still always remember what the hospice did for my dad. And I remember after my dad passed away, my mum said, we better give the hospice a donation. And I said, ma'am, what would we give them? And she said, you know yourself, whatever you think. And I said, how much were they worth? And she said, Eamon, we can't afford it.
Yeah.
It was just a priceless service, yeah.
It is, and even to this, that's still
To this
continuing
day,
to
yeah.
this
Yeah.
day. No matter any family that any of the home help that they've been getting, either in the house or any in the hospice
Yeah.
facility, no one can put a price
Price on it,
on
yeah.
the care and the service that
Mm,
they provide. And it is nice to be able to give us that small recognition
correct.
for the work that they do.
Mm.
I think we've touched on a couple of topics here. This is going to be a long series, I think, of conversations and chats to get all the information out and to get all
The
the
stories.
stories
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
It will be a full length movie, I think, by the time we be
And
finished.
the thing about the memorial tree, obviously it means so much to people. You can see people, they get quite emotional. And I kind of even find maybe a day or two after the memorial tree, I might write out a little card for my own dad and mum and put it on the
Yeah,
tree. And you would shed a tear when you put it up there. So I
absolutely.
can
Yeah,
see where they're coming from.
you can. Yeah.
But it became a really important date for us as well,
Oh,
for
it
us
did.
as a family.
Yeah.
Like when we see how much people appreciate it, it gives us terrific pleasure. And I'm sure you help with it as well. And
Absolutely, yeah. I
yeah,
think it is, and it's nice to kind of meet back with people
isn't it? Yeah,
over the years and have that conversation with
correct.
them and have that chat and just I suppose to look back, because we all live such busy lives now.
Lives, yeah, yeah.
The world is speeding up,
We're rushing.
so it's nice to be able to actually stop for that half an hour and
Correct.
just think back on those who have gone before us.
Remember us, yeah, yeah.
And
And we'll be missing, of course, Marion now this year because
that's it.
she used
Yeah,
to always write a poem for us.
yeah,
So um, they were saying that maybe she has a poem hidden somewhere that we're going to root and see could they find it.
yeah.
So she
And
probably, knowing how prepared she was, she
yeah,
probably has one left somewhere for
I'd
this
be
year.
very surprised if she
If she
hadn't.
hasn't, yeah.
Yeah, and she has given us plenty of
Brilliant
material
over the years.
from
She's
down through the
uh,
years. Yeah, and another great
great
supporter,
to have ours.
another great friend
And
here
you'll
as
meet
well.
her like in January, somewhere downtown in the shop, and they say, I hope you can do a poem. Oh, I've done.
Uh,
She'd have it done for the following year. Yeah.
and Marion had a fantastic outlook on life too as
Correct.
well, and
Correct.
she brought that into her poetry
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
too
yeah.
as well, which was really good.
Correct.
Yeah, I think thanks very much for
Thanks, Tomas.
talking to us this afternoon.
Taking the main share.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. See, you were nervous this morning. I was nervous after dinner.
Exactly, and I'm still a little bit nervous. I think we'll have to a bit more practice.
It is,
We
yeah,
might
yeah.
get there, but I think we've a lot more stories to tell
Lovely,
and
yeah.
a lot more information to get out there. And I think we'll just keep focusing on doing what we do, and we'll see what happens next.
Fair play. Thanks, Tomas.
Thanks, Eamon.